Things are gonna get crazy.
Most everyone's mad here.
Hey, what is happening, everybody? And welcome to a brand new episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend so far, or you had a wonderful weekend. I mean, the weekend already passed, but I know I had. It was very relaxing. It was very good. It was a lot of fun. And I know that everybody was pretty much hyped up because this was the release of Space Jam: A New Legacy. And from there, don't worry, we will be talking about it a little bit more in this podcast, but we also got a whole bunch of other exciting things that we are gonna go and discuss. So, with all that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, are you all ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Are you all ready? Let's see now. Yes, yep, okay. We're already seeing people prepared. That's good to know. All right, good. All right, I think at this point people are set, people are ready. So, I believe with all that said and done, it is now time that we shall go and get things. Wait, hold on a sec. But the audio is canned. Is my audio okay, by the way? I just want to double check because, like with my audio, like I did do a little bit of an update with a new setup. Is my audio fine? Just want to double check. It's fine? Okay. All right. Just want to double check. Anyway, sorry about that. Yes, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with our first story that we have here today, well, this is honestly going to be a little bit of a little controversial one, or we will be diving into a bit of controversy. And what we shall be discussing in terms of what has been getting some controversy is regarding the latest film that has been released, Space Jam: A New Legacy. Now, of course, as we all know, Space Jam is no stranger to getting into a little trouble, especially with fans. But beforehand, they weren't really that much controversial. Like, a lot of it is just a lot of like angry fanboy crap that doesn't actually matter, rather it be the case with Pepe Le Pew or with Lola Bunny's redesign. However, this one is actually a little more serious than those other controversies, because this is actually something that does affect a real person. And the controversy that I am going to be talking about is actually regarding veteran animator Dave Alvarez. Now, for those of you who don't know, veteran animator Dave Alvarez, he did actually work on Space Jam: A New Legacy, and actually did provide a lot of the character designs that you do end up seeing in the final picture. However, recently, he actually did express that he was upset of the fact that the movie did not even bother to credit him. In fact, it started out as a little post that he put in his private Facebook account, but then later on he decided to go and show it publicly, where he decided to go and present it to the internet in his public Twitter and Facebook page and all across social media. And I do have the original post here that Dave actually did put out on Twitter right over here. So just wait for it to load a little bit. Here it is. Okay, so it says here on Dave Alvarez's account, I just want to put this out here. Last night, me and my family sat down to watch Space Jam. My kids were excited to see the movie that Dad helped made, only to find out that my name was omitted from the final credits. At first I thought that perhaps I missed it, but no. We checked 3 times, and I'm just not there. I feel devastated. I worked hard in summer 2019 to help the crew with a lot of the designs that were actually used in the final product. When I began my career, one of my goals was to see my name on the big screen. and that moment was taken off from me, and it will never be back. I feel a lot of pain right now. My kids were frustrated, and so am I right now. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, just to give you a little bit of context, if you don't know who Dave Alvarez is, I already mentioned the fact that he is a veteran animator, but more specifically, he is actually most known to provide character designs for the Looney Tunes for not just years, but for decades. In my source here, CBR, it did mention that he did help out with some DC comics, rather it be back in 1994 or even recently with some DC crossovers like Harley Quinn and Gossamer or Jonah Hex and Yosemite Sam. But on television, he has actually worked a lot in terms of the recent Looney Tunes projects, rather it be helping out with projects such as the Looney Tunes show or Wabbit, or even just recently with Looney Tunes cartoons, and even helping out with the character designs for other notable cartoons such as Tom and Jerry and the Flintstones. And from there, this is why you probably have seen across social media that people are saying hashtag credit Dave or hashtag credit Dave Alvarez. And that's kind of the recent thing that is going on, and why sometimes Space Jam: A New Legacy is getting backlash. Not completely, but this is so far the main reason why people are upset with the movie, is the fact that they don't credit all their artists, or more specifically, that they do not credit someone like Dave Alvarez, who has pretty much made an entire career with designing the Looney Tunes and have them look exactly like how they were before with Space Jam. And this is honestly a pretty devastating thing to actually see happen, but it's honestly interesting as well, because more and more of these stories have popped up recently, especially because of this controversy where we see a lot of visual effects artists and a lot of different animators who came in to not only express their grief for Dave, but also to share their experiences when they did not actually get their credits. Now, there have been a lot of speculation when it comes to why is it that Dave specifically did not receive his credit for Space Jam: A New Legacy, and I've seen a whole bunch of them that could be viable, but there is no true concrete answer as to why is it Warner Brothers decided to take him out of the credits. There are some people that speculate that it is because Warner Brothers just wanted to shorten the running time by eliminating a few people in the credits just to make things faster. There are some people that do say that it is because of contract reasons, and maybe Dave was just not too careful when signing the contract. There might have been something that he did describe in there, or like what the contract said might have mentioned something about the credits and stuff like that. Or another reason could be that he did work in an outsourced studio. Like, he didn't work specifically in the main hub at Warner Animation Group. And if you did work on an animated feature, like a mainstream animated feature, and you were not within the realms of that main studio, then the chances of you getting credited for it would significantly drop. But regardless of what the theories may be, regardless of what actually happened, they all share a similar story, and that is the fact that, unfortunately, not receiving credits for major animated projects like this is not uncommon. Like, I've seen a lot of people, especially nowadays, who are very prominent animators, mention how they have not received their credits in a few projects, rather they be like small projects or big projects, or regardless of how long they've been in the industry. This is unfortunately something that actually does happen, and people would go and express their frustrations whenever those situations occur. Now, I'm sure there are some people that might think that this is a scenario that could most likely happen towards small animators, you know, up-and-comers, people who are just starting and they're just doing little jobs, whether it be like little cleanup animation or that they're just production assistants and stuff like that. Like usually the little guys are less likely to go and receive the credits. Now, that may be true, but in this case here, when it comes to visual effects and when it comes to animation, it can happen to anyone. And especially, like I said before, with Dave Alvarez, he is an animation veteran that's been working in the industry for decades, and yet he has also fallen victim for not receiving credits. And that really is a shame, because the thing is why this is kind of like such a big deal and why this controversy kind of blew up and the hashtag is just trending and all that kind of stuff is mainly because, hold on a sec. Whew, excuse me. Anyways, back to what I was saying. The big reason as to why people are making it such a big deal is because for many artists and for many animators who aspire to be in this industry, for them, this is the big dream. This is what they wish for so long, to see their names in the credits of a major animated production, whether it be for television or for movies. Like, and especially for movies that they could see their name on the big screen. That, like, for many people, that's like a dream come true for them. Like, imagine this scenario, that you would go to the movies, you would go into the cinema, buy your popcorn or whatever, and you would go and watch this incredible animated project. This big name that's already been trending on social media, and it's gathering a lot of attention. It's been said to be a big hit and critically acclaimed as well. You watch it, you experienced it, you enjoyed it, and then when you see the credits go up, you suddenly see your name in the credits, pretty much signifying that you were a part of that team that actually did work on this project, that you were involved in creating this masterpiece that you have witnessed. In a way, it's kind of like the long-term reward that you are pretty much forever immortalized to, that where you contributed as part of this big team who worked on this project. Like, I'm not denying that Dave Alvarez, of course, he was actually paid for his contribution for Space Jam: A New Legacy, but this is why it's so soul-crushing, the fact that he did not receive any credits for Space Jam: A New Legacy, is because he didn't see his name on the big screen. He wasn't immortalized of the fact that his contribution actually did help creating what people are watching right now on the big screen or on HBO Max. And also another reason, I guess you could kind of say it is bragging rights in a way, where you would go and tell people that you actually helped out in making that popular movie that everyone is talking about, and that the credit is kind of like your proof. It's kind of like your evidence, your certificate that you were actually involved in the making of that film, thus allowing you to have that bragging right. But if you don't have the credit, then that pretty much means it's taking away that piece of evidence that you were even involved with that project as well. And that adds into the, you know, it pretty much adds that extra layer to why it is so crushing when your name is not involved with it, because it's kind of like the studio or the movie is kind of erasing your contribution, and whatever you actually helped out, well, people won't really know in the long run because your name is not actually a part of it, which is not true. Like, you know, you actually did it. I mean, it's animation after all. This is something that would take years in order to go and develop. So you know that you've put in all that hard work into that specific project and that you did get paid for it. But unfortunately, without that credit, it's kind of like it's taking away that piece of evidence that you truly actually did work on it. And that's why a lot of people are upset whenever these things would legitimately happen. And considering that I did mention before that this is a case that is unfortunately not uncommon, now I am not saying that Like the last thing that I am saying here is that these things happen, you know. Oh, you know, that's just the industry for you. That's just how it is, you know. If you want to go in, you better get used to something like this. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to emphasize is that this is a much bigger problem than you can imagine, and it can affect anyone, regardless of how long that you have been working in the industry. And that's why this is a scenario that really did blow up, because especially for people in the industry, they know how it feels when they would not be credited for the hard work that they have contributed in a major project. And unfortunately, this is a scenario that is most likely to happen with these big, massive productions. And you got to keep in mind, with Space Jam: A New Legacy, this isn't just like a small little thing. This is like a massive production. This is like a big budgeted movie. I believe last I checked, it's like $150 million budgeted feature film. And you could tell that there have been a lot of artists and animators that actually did help out working in the 2D animation and in the 3D animation, which a lot of people are saying that it's still some of the best parts of the movie, kind of like with the first Space Jam, where the best thing you could say about the first is the animation. Well, you could pretty much say the same thing with this one, because I don't know if we could really give much praise to the writing, that's for sure. No, but in all seriousness, though, it is very much unfortunate for Dave Alvarez to not actually be credited, especially when this is something that he is the most well known for. That's kind of like his specialty in a way. I mean, if you've seen Dave Alvarez's portfolio, or if you've seen a lot of his recent works, you know that like, he is a fantastic artist, but his true specialty is actually drawing the Looney Tunes characters in any style you can imagine, rather it be the modern style that we have often seen in the Space Jam movies, or even like some of the classical styles that are more reminiscent to like some of the older artists back at Termite Terrace, with rather it be like the Tex Avery style, or the Bob Clampett style, or the Chuck Jones, or the Robert, oh crap, what else is there? The Bob McKimson look, or even the Frisk Freeling look. Like he could pretty much take all these different characters and like draw in whatever style you want, and it would stay true to that style. Like, he is one of the few definitive modern Looney Tunes animators after the whole period of like Chuck Jones, Bob McKimson, and Frisk Freeling. But the fact that he is not credited onto this, like, this is kind of like I can imagine for Dave Alvarez, this is kind of like the ultimate dream, like contributing to a major Looney Tunes movie like this, and especially with the kind of designs that he would go and deliver. I don't know if you could see on the tweet that he has done, but you can actually see just a little bit, like in the bottom, like some of the things that he has contributed, whether it be like Foghorn, like you see a little bit of Foghorn Leghorn dressed up in Game of Thrones, or you see Coach Daffy like in his snazzy suit, or like even Bugs Bunny in his suit, or like you can even see in the back that he actually did help design the jerseys for the new Toon Squad. And he has actually done a lot of help, and like he said, a lot of his designs were actually used in the final movie. But unfortunately, the fact that he didn't receive credit, there is a bit of that injustice that needs to be called out upon. And this, like I said before, this really is something that should be emphasized, that this is an industry problem. The fact that it is as common as it is right now, that's an issue that needs to be called out. And you know, this is not something that studios should try to go and have a habit on, because, well, if they do, then at that point, you know, like we're just going to end up seeing this as kind of like a common problem, where we see studios getting called out again and again and again, where like the controversy might end up overshadowing the success. Like even with Space Jam right now, a lot of people are saying that it is so far the most successful family-friendly film during the pandemic. Like right now at the box office, it managed to overthrow Black Widow by earning what was it, like around $32 million on its opening weekend. Like, it's not much, and yeah, I don't know if that would mean it would gain back its $150 million, but at least it is a start, especially during the pandemic. And the fact that this controversy is going around, it's not necessarily a good look for the movie itself, especially with the fact that, like, on top of the notion how it is very mixed amongst audiences. I wouldn't say critics, because, well, critics mostly hate it, but especially amongst audiences, like, people either love it or people either hate it. And especially with the controversy with not crediting some of their animators, and you never know that if they don't credit, if they don't credit just one, then there is a strong possibility that there are several others as well that did not receive their credit. That's just giving fuel to the haters. Basically, like giving more fuel to people who didn't like the first movie and want to discourage others from actually seeing it. You know, pretty much saying, don't watch this movie because now there is a legitimate, valid reason that they don't credit their artists and stuff like that. So there is a very dangerous thing that studios need to be a little bit more careful and a little bit more aware that yes, they do need to go and credit all of their artists. Otherwise, you never know if you have a scenario like this where you can have one person call them out on it and it could just blow up on social media like we are seeing right now with Dave Alvarez and the hashtag credit Dave scenario. Now, the big question is at this point, will Dave end up receiving his credit? Will it actually be possible? And in that regard, I honestly don't know, because that would still require a good amount of work on Warner Brothers' side to actually go and actually credit everyone who did actually work on Space Jam: A New Legacy. And then afterwards, they would have to go and put out that new version to send to cinemas, which I know Space Jam: A New Legacy has nearly 4,000 theaters that they're currently showing. Maybe a bit, I don't know if it's just domestic, but yeah, they got like a huge amount of cinemas that they need to present. So like just doing that fix up, I'm sure it's like a lot of hard work just for the purpose of adding one extra person like Dave onto the credit. And some people could say, well, technically there is also the home media version that maybe like when it comes out on Blu-ray and DVD, like maybe they could go and do that. Maybe, but I honestly don't know if they could or if they even want to in the first place, because if you do think about it, it is a lot of hard work just to go and make a very minor significant change by adding a name onto the credits. That's why, like, there's a little bit of an iffy kind of scenario here. So overall, yeah, honestly, I feel sorry for Dave not receiving his credits. I mean, the dude is an extremely talented artist. If you haven't followed him on social media, I highly recommend you to do so, because he's done a lot of fantastic work, especially with the drawings that he has done for Looney Tunes. And really, yeah, like this is something that should be taught as like a lesson for studios out there, that you do need to go and credit your artists, because in the age of social media, you never know if like one little screw up and one little mistake of forgetting someone, you're going to get that person call you out on it, and it'll just blow up on social media. And I mean, social media is the master of turning a mountain out of a molehill, and then you'll be stuck with a massive controversy with your movie. So yeah, credit your artists, people. Like that's the big lesson in all this. All right, so with that said, I would like to go on social media right now, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the controversy of Space Jam: A New Legacy and the fact that they have forgot to credit Dave Alvarez? Is it something that you side with Dave on? Is it something that, you know, that you, who do you side with, Warner Brothers or Dave Alvarez? Or if you actually did work in the industry, have you actually gotten any experiences of not receiving credits for a project you worked on? Let me know what you think. Let's see now. I went and saw Space Jam the other day, and though I did enjoy the film, Alvarez not being credited is just despicable, or should I say, it's just despicable. And the sad thing is, this isn't the first time something like this happened with this movie. I'm pretty sure Katsushi recorded all her lines for Lola before the Warner Brothers executives decided to recast her with Zendaya instead. Again, solid movie, but this behind-the-scenes stuff, yeesh. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if that is actually the case. I haven't heard if, like, Katsushi actually recorded her lines and then was replaced. But unfortunately, that example you did bring up, actually, that is another thing that is actually unfortunately common, where we have we have seen a lot of these stories where you got one actor recording their lines and then suddenly at the last minute the executives wanted to bring someone new on board and actually get them in just to get more credentials, just to get someone more famous, more trending, someone who is more popular now instead of like back then. Like, unfortunately, these things do legitimately happen. And one of the most infamous examples is with the Jetsons movie, where they decided to replace the original voice of Judy Jetson, which I believe is Jane Fonda. Like, she did the voice for the entire thing, but then the executives decided to replace her voice with a pop artist named Tiffany. And that was a massive that was a massive mistake, because I'll be honest, Tiffany is garbage. Like, I know that sounds very harsh, but as an actress, she's just absolutely terrible. And it really shows that she had no idea what she was doing when she was recording her lines for Judy Jetson. So yeah, that's another massive example of something like that happening. So yeah, unfortunately, these things can happen, sadly. Let's see, what else do we have here? I feel so sorry for Dave. I highly blame Warner Brothers for deliberately uncrediting Dave in this movie. If a person who has worked on a movie like this, they should be credited no matter what. So let this be a lesson for companies, old and new, to give everybody who worked on a movie credit in the credits that they really deserve. All right, so, okay. We got a first-time person here. Whoever's in charge at adding artists in the end credits should seriously check if every name is mentioned before the final credits. Warner Brothers should be ashamed, and there is no excuse that they forgot to add the names, especially a guy who did great designs for Looney Tunes and gave a great tribute to the classic cartoons by Chuck Jones. Warner Brothers should release an apology post on social media ASAP. I hope this doesn't happen to me when I become a story artist. Yeah, I mean, well, hopefully they will learn their lesson, and like the best thing that you can do now is just keep this, hashtag trending to credit Dave. Hopefully, like, the bigger that it is, the more that it will capture Warner Brothers' attention and for them to actually take action on it. Like, I know for Warner Brothers, this is something so significant and so small, but if there is enough voices that would actually go and shout at them for making that kind of mistake, then maybe they will take action and make a response to it. You know, it's kind of like whenever YouTube does something stupid, the best way to go and take action and to see some actual change occur is to make sure your voice is like heard loud enough so that they could actually hear how upset that you are with the scenario. Let's see what else we have here. I feel very sad for Dave and his family. Warner Brothers is just being a douche to him. Dave really deserved credit considering that he gives a lot of contribution to the DC cartoons and more. In words of Daffy to Warner Brothers, you're despicable. One quick question. Have you seen Space Jam: A New Legacy, and can we expect your review to come out? Yes, it will be coming this Friday. Let's see what else we have here. As a person who dreams to work in the animation industry, especially becoming a cartoonist, I really feel the amount of pain Dave is going through. Not giving credits to him is such a despicable move for Warner Brothers to do, especially when Dave has been working in the animation industry for decades. Dave did a fantastic job on the animation, and he really deserves credit. I feel sorry for him, and I really hope this crap doesn't happen more often. I mean, we'll see, but really the big thing is just how, like I said before, this is something that does commonly happen in the industry, but the big question is, how much would you let this slide? You know, like this is something that is common, but anytime that this happens, then you have to go and call them out. It really is a case that you have to hold them accountable for an action that is not okay, because if nothing happens or if very little action is taken, well, then very little chances things might actually change. All right, I think I'm going to go and read one more comment before we can jump to the next story. Let's see, what else do we have here? Do we have some? Okay, there we go. Having looked at Dave Alvarez's art, I am certainly impressed by his work, so him not getting credited at all is a damn shame, and it is certainly possible that there are more artists that they didn't credit. And I also think that the advertisements for this movie never showed any of the voice actors for the Looney Tunes characters except Zendaya, so this wasn't like the first this wasn't likely the first time this happened. Well, yes, I mean, that is true, and I guess you could say that's kind of like a whole different subject altogether in regards to the credits that the voice actors would get in the advertising, because I could pretty much confirm, seeing the movie myself, that yes, the voice actors did properly receive their credits for their voiceover work, but again, that's a whole different story in terms of crediting the voice actors for their contribution, like to see the names of like Jeff Bergman, Jim Cummings, or Eric Bauza in the credits and treat them equally like how the advertisement is doing for Zendaya. So yeah, that is kind of like a whole can of worms right there. Okay, so the next story that we have over here, well, we actually got a trailer, and this one, I gotta admit, I'm actually kind of surprised, considering that just recently, we actually had our first look at Disney's next animated feature, Encanto, which that's going to be coming out in November. However, Pixar decided to go and jump in a few days later and actually release their teaser trailer for their next animated film. But this one is actually going to be coming in sometime in 2022. Well, actually in March of 2022 specifically, so it's not like going to be a full year, but still, it's not going to be until a long time that this movie is going to come out. So, with that said and done, let us now go and check out the trailer for the next Pixar movie, or should I say the teaser trailer, which is Turning Red.
All right, guys, the quadratic formula. Let the fun begin. Who could tell me how the formula begins? X equals...
No, this isn't happening.
Excuse me, my child goes to this school. I paid my taxes.
What is that? Oh, snap!
All right, settle down, little goblins. Whoa.
That is the teaser trailer of Turning Red, which it has been confirmed that it will not be on Disney Plus on its release, but rather it will be coming out in theaters. Again, not for a while though, until 2022. And honestly, I gotta say, with what we have seen with this so far, and by the way, actually, before I go into my thoughts, just to give you some quick context, that this is actually going to be the directorial debut of Domi Shi. And for those of you not familiar with Domi Shi, she is a Pixar veteran in which she has actually done the Oscar-winning animated short Bao, the the little animated short with the mother and the living dumpling, the one that came out just before Incredibles 2. So after winning her Oscar, now she is pretty much going to be making her theatrical feature directorial debut with Turning Red. And you know, the funny thing is that if there is one movie that I feel like I can compare this the most, like just easily, and this might sound crazy, but funny enough, I really see a lot of Luca in this, mainly because of the fact that, number one, it's the directorial debut of a Pixar veteran who previously worked on an Oscar-worthy animated short, and not only that, but we also have what seems to be a very coming-of-age story that this is about this girl. Now she is entering middle school and she's becoming a teenager. But the catch is that she can't really control her emotions. And when she cannot control her emotions, she just turns into a giant fluffy red panda. So that's the whole scenario that is going on. And I will say, in terms of this teaser trailer, I feel like it is very well executed. I think it's honestly a lot of fun, especially at the beginning, where I'm starting to actually see this, where this teaser trailer alone is already starting to become a pretty popular meme, where we have like the moment where her friend was handing over the paper, and then she would just check it out and it would just say something, and then you get that reaction. It actually does work out, honestly. It's a cute little meme. It's a fun meme and a nice little twist, like, to something that I'm sure has already been popular and been done so many times before. But seeing this version is honestly a lot of fun. And not to mention, especially the whole scenario with what they're doing with the helicopter mom. That is actually pretty funny, the way that, like, as a lot of people would say, yeah, like, the mother, who is going to be played by Sandra Oh, by the way, she's pretty much a full-on Karen, especially with her interaction with the security guard. And I will admit, one thing that did make me laugh is, like, hold on, let's just play it a little bit.
My child goes to this school. I paid my taxes.
Like, you probably heard that a little bit, where, like, she just states, I paid my taxes. And you know that when there is someone who would go and proclaim that they pay their taxes, you know that they're just going to be really douchey. They think that just because they pay their taxes, they would just go and do whatever they want. So yeah, honestly, the way that all this is pretty much built up, and then, like, we're pretty much at the point where, like, she can no longer handle it, and then suddenly becomes the giant panda. Honestly, it's kind of like I really feel like it is a great introduction to the whole concept, where, like, she gets too excited, or where she cannot handle or control her emotions, then she just turns into this giant fluffy red panda. And it's not always the case where it's like, you know, the Incredible Hulk, where anytime she would get angry or stressed, she would just turn into this. Because we also got the little example at the beginning where she would just try to calm herself down.
Yes! No!
It's just, in general, if her emotions get the best of her, that's when she would go and transform into a giant fluffy red panda. And honestly, this is where we also got the factor of Luca coming in, where we do have that aspect of coming of age, where this is about a girl trying her best to control her emotions in an age where she's at the age where it's too easy for her emotions to get the best of her, and she'll end up having extra emotions that she normally never felt before when she was a kid. Oh, excuse me, people. I don't know why. It's just like my saliva is not cooperating with me. But anyways, going back into this, that is exactly why the more that I do think about it, the more that I actually really see potential with this movie, that this could actually turn out great. Now, I don't know if it's going to turn out to be a Pixar masterpiece, but if it turns out to be something like Luca, then I think we're going to be in for something that's going to be very heartfelt and really well made, especially with the factor that it will tap into a subject that I'm sure a lot of kids nowadays are often struggling to get to, and that is controlling their emotions. Now, I know some people could argue that, wait a minute, well, don't we already have Inside Out that would go and discuss, like, to families, to adults and kids about handling our emotions and, you know, using that as a theme to discuss in their movie? Well, yes, that is true, but this one, though, looks like it's going to be handling it in a different way, and what seems to be more relatable directly to kids and people who have a little bit more difficulties when it comes to controlling their emotions, and especially in this day and age of social media and how political division is at an all-time high. I think, honestly, for me, I feel like this is a very necessary movie for this to come out, especially if they're capable of handling and tackling these subjects well in the form of this coming-of-age Pixar story. Then I think, honestly, this is going to be a great feature film, and I think, honestly, one to look out for in 2022, like one that one that should be anticipated, because with Pixar's track record right now, I know a lot of people are just complaining and, you know, they're hyping up like what they've read on the internet, saying like, oh, Pixar's losing their creative edge. Well, not that much technically. And if losing their creative edge is like what we have seen recently with stuff like Onward, Soul, and Luca, then honestly, I think Pixar is still doing a really good job, and I think Pixar is going to be fine. And especially with what we are seeing with Turning Red, I'm honestly very optimistic with what we have over here. Again, I know that technically it's not going to be until next year. It's not going to be until like several months that we are actually going to see this movie, or it's not going to be until a few more seasons, actually. But honestly, this is like what this teaser trailer has done over here. It pretty much succeeded in making me pretty hyped up for this. So overall, I'm very much positive, and I'm pretty optimistic with what Turning Red has in store. And if you guys are excited as I am for the movie, then remember that it will be coming out in 2022, in March of 2022. So mark your calendars for that one. All right, so with that said, let us now go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you all think about the Turning Red teaser trailer? Did you guys enjoy it? Are you guys a little more iffy on it? Let me know what you all think on this. Okay. Now, what do we have here? Well, it looks like Dragon Warrior Poe has a competitor, but other than that, I am very intrigued to check this out. The animation is very cute. Mei looks like a likable little girl, and I like the K-pop music playing in the trailer. Excuse me? Time out! K-pop music. Yeah. Were you born after the 2000s? Because that is, that's not K-pop. That was a 90s piece of music from the Backstreet Boys. And they from Korea. They all white. This ain't some BTS thing like with the Clifford trailer. It's like I don't know. It's just like you've kind of triggered the 90s kid in me going like, K-pop, you uncultured swine, let me tell you something. This is from the Backstreet Boys. This was back in my day. We didn't have BTS, we had NSYNC, and we had Backstreet Boys. And this was from our generation. Dang Gen Zers. Oh, fudge. Is this a sign that I'm just getting old? I don't know. Anyways. Well, I gotta say, this looks pretty cute. The visuals are quite neat, and as per the course of most Pixar affairs, the idea of a big fluffy panda Hulk is both hilarious and adorable, and the joke at the end is particularly really funny. I'll definitely check it out, but only if there's a reference to those panda cheese ads. That'll be 100% worth the price of admission. The panda cheese ads, I don't think I even know what the panda cheese ads are. But anyways, yeah, it is true. And that's also another thing that I really like about this trailer. It's also really hilarious. In fact, I think like the one joke that I really like the most is actually like when all the kids are paying attention to the main character's mom outside. And then like we also got the teacher who's also involved with it, like this part.
Settle down, little goblins. Whoa.
Like just his reaction here, like
Whoa.
Like just this moment where even the teacher just doesn't give a crap about his work. Like you could tell he's having like an existential crisis or some midlife crisis where like he's just fed up with life and stuff like that. And then suddenly he looks outside and he's like, even he's just there. Whoa, oh my god. Like now his day finally has some excitement. But yeah, for me, this is honestly hilarious. And yeah, it is a really funny trailer. You know, like the comedy is very much on point with this. Let's see. Yes, this is the Pixar film I've been anticipating the most since Disney's 2020 Investors Day. The director proved herself as someone who was worth watching with Bao, and I love the concept. Plus, diversity with a Chinese-Canadian lead played by a Chinese actress. And it takes place in early 2000s based on the poster showing her student ID, 2002 and 2003. Domishi said that her mother did actually stalk her outside of school. The fight with the security guard was added to the film. And yeah, you know, this is what I really like about it, and that's where I could tell that, like, you know, honestly, this is actually another comparison that we can make to Luca, because technically a part of this was actually inspired by the director's childhood, which in this case here is from Domi Shi, and she's kind of loosely telling us about her childhood that she had being a Chinese Canadian. And funny enough, the one thing that is also worth mentioning is that, and this is something for me that I feel very excited about, is the fact that, believe it or not, this is going to take place in Canada. Although this will be taking place in Toronto, but still, the fact that we are having a Canadian-based Pixar movie is actually pretty exciting, and I think honestly, especially for us Canadians, is really worth hyping up for. And also what's funny to mention and like kind of intriguing for me personally is the fact that they also mention at the beginning like the school or the new school that the main character is going to. And it's actually a Lester Pearson Middle School, which is kind of intriguing for me because in Montreal, we actually do have a real Lester P. Pearson school. It's technically a high school, but still, it is actually, but still, like, we do have a real Lester B. Pearson school. I don't know if they do have one in Toronto, but I know we do have one in Montreal, and I could pretty much, expect that school just freaking out, especially with the whole aspect of turning red and make it about them and stuff like that. So there is that. Let's see, what else do we have here? I always get excited when Pixar uploads a new trailer of their upcoming films. Turning Red looks like another great addition to the Pixar canon. The animation looks great, as always, with Pixar, but also cute. I love that it takes place in Toronto, a lovely city I did visit once in the early 2000s, and of course, Domi Shi. She's now one of my favorite Pixar artists. Also, I do think this is more like tiger pandering than helicopter pandering. Do I think it is more like tiger pandering than helicopter? I don't know, maybe. Either one, give or take, in this case. But yeah, overall, yeah, definitely like something really worth getting excited over. I'll read one more comment before we jump into the next one. Let's see. The trailer looks really cute, and I am really interested to see how Domi Shi can handle a film like this. The animation looks really cute, and it could turn out to be a very fun movie. However, even though I am excited for Turning Red, I'm honestly more excited for Lightyear next year from Pixar. Oh yeah, I'm sure there's going to be like that massive debate of what people are going to be more excited over. And I can understand maybe some people will view it as a bit of like that kind of Pixar style competition, kind of like what we've seen in the previous years. Like for example, with back in 2015 with The Good Dinosaur and Inside Out, or even just like with last year with Onward and Soul. Like I'm sure there might be one that will end up overshadowing the other, but either way, for me personally, I'm really excited for both. Like, yeah, I'm really curious to know what Lightyear is going to be about, but for now, with what we are seeing with Turning Red, it definitely has a lot of promise. Okay, now, for our next story that we have over here, it's going to be a little bit of an update of a story that I have yet to fully cover. Now, this is actually going to be regarding streaming services, and most specifically, regarding what is happening with Peacock. I know that Peacock is the kind that a lot of people don't really seem to care all that much, at least not as much as like HBO Max or Netflix or Disney Plus. But still, it is a legitimate competitor, and Universal has recently announced a brand new plan with their animated films, or with their new movies in general, starting in 2022, where they have this 18-month plan where after their new movies be released in theaters, they would then go and move to Peacock, where they have this full-on 18-month plan. However, there is a little bit of a catch with this plan where they will be exclusive to Peacock in the first and the last 4 months of those 18 months. That kind of leaves us with just 10 months of nothing. What happens there? Well, by that point, that's when those Universal movies would actually be allowed to move over to different areas, where they would be allowed to go and not just be an exclusive to Peacock, and they're allowed to be in other streaming services if they want to. But with a recent deal that actually did happen, I'm sure there was one company that was really desperate to get certain films from Universal to make sure that they could still sustain themselves as the top streaming service. And what I'm talking about is the deal that Universal has done with Netflix, specifically regarding their animated films. Now, with the plan that I have just mentioned, when it comes to their animated movies, especially the ones from DreamWorks Animation and from Illumination Entertainment, especially from Illumination, they have announced that during that 10-month gap, in that 18-month window for Universal movies, the animated films will then be also available on Netflix. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this specifically means that after the first 4 months, they would be exclusive to Netflix, or after the first 4 months, they would be available both on Peacock and on Netflix. But the big thing to emphasize is that Netflix does have the opportunity to also have their animated films. And on top of that, Universal and Netflix has also made a deal, and this is going to be like way ahead in the future, where after 4 years after the release of that new movie, then they would be allowed to go and stream onto Netflix. And we haven't figured out of what's going to be a plan like in the middle between like the first 18 months and then like after 4 years and stuff like that. But I'm sure in the future they will figure it out. Now, what does that mean specifically for like these Illumination and for these DreamWorks movies? Well, to give you an example of what this new plan is going to look like, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go and take the Minions, The Rise of Gru, because that movie does have a fixed release date, which that one is going to be coming out next year in July of 2022. So here's the plan, and here's going to be the life cycle of that movie in particular. So first of all, it's going to go and be released on the big screen. Like, they're going to have that theatrical release, and you're going to see Minions Rise of Gru there. Then, after that, after probably a few days of being on the big screen, after a few weeks or so, now we would go and enter onto mid-August, I believe. And then from there, Minions Rise of Gru would move on to Peacock. And for those 4 months, that's where it's going to be exclusively, at least in terms of streaming services, where if you want to see Minions Rise of Gru on a streaming service, then you have to go to Peacock. And it's going to stay there up until December of 2022, if my calculation is correct. But then, once that is done, we jump onto 2023. That's when Minions Rise of Gru is allowed to actually go to Netflix. And they would go, I don't know if it's, again, I don't know if it's exclusively to Netflix or if it's Peacock and Netflix, but Minions Rise of Gru would also have the chance to also be on Netflix for the next 10 months. And that will lead us to October of 2023. Then by that point, that's when it will go and return as a Peacock exclusive, going from October of 2023 and moving on up to February of 2024. Now, that's the 18-month plan, and we don't know what's going to be happening in the rest, but it wouldn't be until sometime in July of 2026 where Minions Rise of Gru is going to go back to becoming a Netflix movie where you can watch Minions Rise of Gru on Netflix once again. And that's so far what seems to be the long-term plan. We don't have any more full conclusions onto what else they want to do with it, but that's so far the plan that we publicly know with what Universal and Netflix wants to do with those animated films in particular. Now, I know probably some of you might be wondering as well, what about the live action movies? Are they also part of the deal? No, because Netflix is only looking for the animated features. Universal has actually already done a deal with other studios and other companies in order to distribute the live action films elsewhere. In terms of those movies, they are actually going to go with Amazon Prime and IMDb TV. So they've already settled those movies there. So, but in the case of the animated films, yes, they do have a plan that they'll start things off on Peacock, but then they'll also be on Netflix, and then they'll end up being on Peacock exclusively again. And honestly, yeah, I can imagine how this was an emergency situation for Netflix. The fact that Universal made that announcement to try to boost up the popularity and to boost up the value of this, to boost up the popularity of Peacock, to make it more valuable, to give people much more of a sedative and a reason to actually get it, and it would give them more of an opportunity to actually have access to some exclusive stuff or have it before anyone else could at home. That's kind of the big game plan that they want to do with that deal. But for Netflix, yeah, I'm sure they probably freaked out. And on that day when they made that announcement about that plan in the first place, they probably phoned them and freaked out because they need to make sure those animated films go to them and they go to them exclusively. Not to other companies, not on Hulu, not on Amazon, not anywhere else, but on Netflix. And the reason why I say this is because you guys probably have no idea how much of a powerhouse the Illumination films are on Netflix. Like, we probably know that they do an incredible job at the box office, or at least before the pandemic. Like, they were like some of the top grossing animated features of their time. In fact, they have so far made the only non-Disney animated features to surpass $1 billion at the box office with Minions and Despicable Me 3. But with that popularity, it doesn't just translate well at the box office, it also translates well on Netflix, where people really consume the crap out of those movies. In fact, some of the most popular films on Netflix right now are actually Illumination films. And if you don't believe me, I actually found this article here from Forbes in which they actually do list down what is currently right now the most popular movies that you could find on Netflix. And the good news is for animation fans is that it's actually animated films that are the most popular so far, or at least most of the popular ones are animated films. And we actually do have a list here, a top 10 specifically, of the most popular movies that you could find on Netflix right now. And the way that they've built this top 10 list is that they actually tried to go and figure out what are the movies that have lasted the longest to be a part of the top 10. Like, how many, like, amongst all these movies, so far, just in this year alone, by the way, just want to go and emphasize that, how many days have they been featured in the top 10? So, just to go and read you this list here. So, and by the way, this is like from so far what we got in 2021 up till like from the start of the year to, I guess you could say, mid-July. Number 10 is Home, with 39 days of being in the top 10. Then we got number 9, The Croods. Actually, it's kind of a two-way tie for number 8 and number 9, where we got 365 days and The Croods, both of which spent 45 days in the top 10. Then we got the Ron Howard classic, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, that had 51 days in there. Then we got Angry Birds 2 at number 6 with 53 days. Next up, we got The Mitchells vs. the Machines, who have been in that top 10 list for 63 days. Then after that, we got We Can Be Heroes, that got on the top 10 for 68 days. Then here's where things get interesting. At number 3, we got Illumination's The Grinch, that has been in the top 10 for 77 days. At number 2, we got Despicable Me, that's been on the top 10 for 111 days. And at number 1, which what many people are saying right now is the most popular movie on Netflix ever, The Secret Life of Pets 2, in which the grand majority of this year, it was on the top 10, 138 days. Now, I know some could say that technically there are some technicalities and how there are some things that are not necessarily fair. Like, for example, with The Mitchells versus the Machines, technically, it's only been half of this year. It's only been on for like half of this year so far because it was released at the end of April, I believe. But even at that, like, even if we would go and level the playing field by cutting the amount of days The Secret Life of Pets 2 had in half, it would still have much more than The Mitchells versus the Machines. So it would still go and top that. And as you could probably imagine, and actually, you know what? On this article over here, we also got another list as well regarding points of another top 10. Just, yeah. Do we have, okay, yeah, like, okay, I don't know, like, what these points specifically mean, but we also got another, like, ranking list as well that does also signify the popularity of these, of these movies. So, number 10, they got The Christmas Chronicles 2 at 241 points. We got 365 Days with 282 points. The Angry Birds Movie 2 has 284 points. Home has 296 points. How the Grinch Stole Christmas has 299 points. The Grinch has 349 points. The Secret Life of Pets 2 has 382 points. The Mitchells vs. the Machines has 383 points. We Can Be Heroes has 420 points. 420! Sorry, just had to. And at number 1, we got Despicable Me at 428 points. Okay, now technically on this list right over here, the Mitchells vs. the Machines did manage to top The Secret Life of Pets 2. But then again, it's really not by much. It's only a 1-point difference. And still, the number 1 to top it all is still Despicable Me, an Illumination film. So basically, the big point that I want to make, the big thing that I want to emphasize is that Illumination Entertainment is a serious powerhouse on Netflix. Maybe some people might think I might be exaggerating when I say this. Maybe I'm saying some kind of hyperbole, but honestly, I truly do believe that Netflix would crumble. They would not be where they are today if it weren't for Illumination Entertainment. They're the ones who are supplying their most popular movies, and they need Illumination in order to thrive, in order to still remain as the top streaming service, as now that we really are in the heat of the streaming wars, and that we are seeing Disney Plus becoming more and more of a powerhouse, and how some people are even predicting that there will be a day that Disney Plus might even go on top of Netflix. It could potentially happen. But for now, Netflix needs to sustain themselves with Illumination movies if they want to remain at the top, if they still want to remain as a true serious competitor against Disney Plus. And that's why they need the Illumination films, especially with what they have coming up. Not just with Minions Rise of Gru, but also with the Mario movie. Like, think about it. With that Super Mario movie, could you imagine if things actually do go well with that film and that movie actually turns out to be good and audiences love it so much, down to, like, if Netflix ends up receiving that movie, then they would pretty much be secure to be in the top spot of, like, the best and most popular streaming service for a long, long time. Like, not even Disney with whatever Marvel or Star Wars series that they would dish out. Like, not even they would be able to go and top that. So that's why it is essential for Netflix to make that deal. And I'm sure that they had to go and act quickly in order to make sure that this deal even happens in the first place, that they would actually go and make sure that the Illumination films does not go anywhere, that Amazon doesn't get their hands on it, that Hulu doesn't get their hands on it, and that HBO Max doesn't get their hands on it. It's a Netflix thing. It's a Netflix thing. It's what fuels them. It's what makes them a serious powerhouse, especially with the family, especially with families, and especially with kids. They got to make sure they have it more than any other studio. I mean, yeah, sure, other studios actually do very well in the platform, including Sony Animation, but it's Illumination more than anyone else that they really need. I mean, DreamWorks Animation, of course, is a great bonus, especially with the way that they have been supplying so many successful series for Netflix, such as She-Ra and Tales of Arcadia. But again, they have to make sure that they have the Illumination films, because they supply some of the most popular movies that you could find right now on Netflix. Even like you can even disregard like what's been said at the box office. I mean, keep in mind, the most popular movie right now on Netflix is The Secret Life of Pets 2. That was the movie that a lot of people say that it is a flop, that even if Universal made their money on it, it was the movie that made less than half of what the first movie has made. And yet here it is right now, really booming on Netflix, like really breathing new life. You could say that The Secret Life of Pets 2 is more popular on Netflix than it was on the big screen. So that's the big thing that I want to go and emphasize on this, is that this is a deal that, yes, Netflix actually did do a good move to make that deal with Universal in order to secure the animated films, because more than anything, it's to have those Illumination movies on Netflix. If they really do want to reach that goal of being Disney's biggest competitor in animation, then they are going to need the help of Illumination. And so, with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the deal with what Netflix and Universal has done? Do you think Netflix has done the right decision on this? Do you think they've pulled off a good move? Do you understand the whole plan that Universal is trying to do with Peacock and with other streaming platforms like Amazon and with Netflix? Let me know what you think on this. Let's see now. Matt should become a spokesperson for Illumination. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't hide it that I am more positive towards Illumination Entertainment, but then again, like, the thing is, this is outside, like, what I'm saying here, it's outside of my opinion, because, yeah, say what you will about the Illumination films, they're not as great as some of the other studios out there in terms of the quality of the movies that they are releasing. Yeah, you can have whatever opinion you want, but you cannot deny the popularity that they have. That I could debatably say that they are on par right now with Disney and Pixar. Like, no other studio outside of Disney could reach Illumination's popularity level. Not Sony, not DreamWorks, not Paramount, none of them so far. I'm just stating right here, like, people often forget about their popularity, but it is a major factor into their business. And the thing is, Illumination, say what you will about their movies, but the way they run their business, it's pretty much top notch. Anyways, man, you can't turn a corner these days without this type of deal, am I right? Well, I think 4 years is a little lengthy. I do understand why this deal was made. I guess if I want to check it out on Netflix, I'll need to be a hell of a patient. Also, the name Peacock kind of fascinates me. For example, Peacock and no one bats an eye, but say Poopcock and society goes wild. Well, I mean, like, it's Universal, it's NBC, and they want to name it after the bird and stuff like that. But yeah, like, I can imagine, like, you'll have those kids, like, make that kind of toilet humor. In fact, honestly, that's a Minions joke right there. I feel like that is a legitimate Minions joke. Like, you just see two Minions with each other. They're looking at all the different streaming services. Like,
hey, Kevin, oh, you peacock. Poopcock.
Like, you can totally imagine that as a freaking Minions joke right over there. They so would. I mean, yeah, like, it's the kind that it seems like a little more mature for their type of humor, but still, like, it's totally the kind that they totally would do that kind of joke. Anyways, let's see. I never really used Peacock because I don't want to waste too much money because I have HBO Max and Paramount Plus. But I'm not sure about this idea of animated features for Universal being exclusively on Netflix. I just feel like it is kind of inaccurate. Not saying it's a bad idea, I'm just sort of mixed about it because Netflix has already made a deal with Sony for making their movies being exclusive on Netflix as well. But those are just my thoughts on it. Also, that image Stuart?
Mokadado?
No, but like I said before, I'm not I could totally be wrong on this. Like, I'm not 100% sure if it actually is, like, after being an exclusive to Peacock for 4 months, then they become a Netflix exclusive for 10 months. It could also be the case that they become Netflix exclusive for 4 months, but then, like, once Netflix has their hands on it, it would also be available on Peacock. So that's the one thing I am not 100% sure. And if you know the answer to it, then you could feel free to correct me on that, just to go and have that clarification. I just want to put that statement out there. Okay. Oh boy, I can't wait to see how this deal works. First was the deal with Sony, in which Sony also made a deal with Disney, and now with Universal. I felt pretty surprised that the animated features were dominating Netflix. I can hope many of the deals Netflix made would actually work. I'm a little bit worried that it would not go well and cause a streaming crash. I bet that Johnny from Hotel Transylvania would be banging with Minnie Mouse when Sony Animation movies were on Disney+. What? Why would you even have that image? Like, that's my question, though. Why? But anyways, honestly, no, I think this deal for me personally, I feel like this would really work out well because it is Illumination Entertainment and they are still a very popular studio amongst the general public. So I think in regards to this, it would still go extremely well. They would definitely be fine, especially with how things would work out with Minions Rise of Gru. Like, once that movie is going to come to Netflix, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that will be eating it up, and it will be, it could, like, I believe it would have the potential to possibly even become the biggest movie, like the most popular movie on Netflix in 2023. Like, there would be a strong chance. If not, it would definitely be like on that list of the top 10 movies on Netflix that appear the most on their top 10. Let's see what else we got. I could definitely see why Netflix wants to have the Universal animated films onto Netflix. Considering how we are currently in the streaming wars, Netflix wants to make sure they could stay in the competition against Disney+, especially thanks to the massive success of their Marvel TV shows. Also, I could see how this deal could work, considering how Netflix technically has a deal with Universal, making series based on Jurassic World and Fast and Furious. Well, technically, I would say that with those ones, that's from DreamWorks Animation. You know, that's where, like, the bonus does come from, and why I would also say that this deal is very much important to Netflix. Not, like, I know I've emphasized a lot on Illumination Entertainment, but it's also important to have this deal with DreamWorks as well, in order to have them on board. Now, granted, technically with DreamWorks, they're more important to Netflix in terms of their series, and I mean, with their movies, they've been scattered all over the place. I remember there was at one point, DreamWorks made this post where they list all the different streaming services of where you can find their movies, and really, they are all over the place. Like, they had a list of just for Peacock, of just for Hulu, of just for Netflix, of for HBO Max, and all that kind of stuff. It became, like, honestly, it became a little bit of a mess, and it would make, like, I feel like in the future, I feel like with the DreamWorks movies, Universal or somebody needs to go and try to organize that crap so that they could be more, like, you know, more in one place, like to have an official streaming home for DreamWorks Animation. And that's the thing with DreamWorks, is that they don't really have one yet. All right, I'll read one more comment before we jump into the next story. Let's see what we have here. This news fascinates me. While I don't have Peacock, it's going to be very interesting to see something like Sing 2 and the Super Mario movie not only on Peacock, but move straight to Netflix in those months. By the way, just one clarification, by the way, Sing 2 won't count in that deal because that's still going to be released in 2021. The end of 2021, but still 2021. But I honestly hope they do bring movies like the first Sing movie and Kung Fu Panda 3 onto Netflix, because those movies, in my opinion, are among the best animated features of the last decade. But this really proves that Netflix is one of the biggest streaming services in the world. Exactly. You know, so far, Netflix is the king of streaming services. But right now, they're having a hard time to keep that crown, and they need to do whatever they can in order to maintain the crown from other streamers, especially from Disney. So they got to do whatever they can, even if it means getting the help of Illumination, of DreamWorks, and from Universal. Okay, so the next story that I have over here was the announcement of a brand new series that really caught my attention. Now, the plot line and the whole concept of it all, it is actually pretty intriguing. But what did catch my attention is actually regarding who is working on it. One of the people that is in charge, and already when I saw that name, I'm like, done, sold, I want this, please. When is it coming out? Tell me. And what I'm talking about is actually a new series called Battu. And for those of you who don't know what Battu is, it's actually going to be, that is actually going to be an upcoming series brought to us by Cartoon Network Studios, which is actually based on an animated short made by Chaz Bottoms. But the big significance of it is that Matthew A. Cherry, the creator of the Oscar-winning short Hair Love, is also going to be working on this project. And for those of you who don't know what Battu is, and you want to know the plot line and what it's all about, it states here, reading from my source on Variety, it states, described as a coming-of-age musical comedy series about a young group of misfit dreamers who moved to their own beat, Battu will follow Chicago teens Otis and Jada, who are gifted dancers but free spirits who find themselves outcasts in the world of mainstream dance. They join a troupe of Hip Play, a mix of hip-hop and ballet dance, dancers, where they find acceptance amongst their peers and instructors. It also mentions here that the show's soundtrack will explore Chicago's music scene, and Battu will tackle themes such as courage, self-empowerment, inclusiveness, perseverance, and the power of friendship. We also got an extra quote coming from the president of Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network Studios, Sam Register, as it states right over here. Battu is unlike anything we have ever tried at the studio. This ambitious project brings together and celebrates two of our greatest storytelling mediums, animation and music. Matthew Cherry and Chaz Bottoms are our perfect dance partners as we strive to tell audiences stories that both empower and entertain. So that's pretty much the big thing that we got here. It's with Battu, an animated musical, a series that will be brought to us by Chaz Bottoms and Matthew A. Cherry that will mainly be about dance and will be set in Chicago, but will have this empowering theme that will encompass this entire show. And like I said before, right when I heard that Matthew Cherry is actually going to be involved with this, that really got me excited and really got me curious to go and see what this show is all about. As like, keep in mind, for me, I love Hair Love. It is one of, if not my favorite project that ever came out of Sony Animation. Well, technically you could say Sony Animation distributed more than actually make it, because it did start out as like a Kickstarter independent project, and then suddenly Sony Animation came in and went to go and distribute it and put it in front of the Angry Birds movie too. But still, it is such a phenomenal animated short, and because it has that Sony Animation name attached to it, honestly, it's probably my favorite Sony Animation project, maybe even more so than Spider-Verse. So I just want to go and put that out there. And yeah, and that's honestly why I'm really excited with whatever Matthew A. Cherry has in store. And ever since he got that Oscar for Hair Love, he has been making deals with so many different companies and has announced a whole bunch of brand new upcoming projects, a lot of which are actually animated. Of course, he actually made deals with Sony Animation to go and work on projects such as a Hair Love series that would come to HBO Max, as well as a movie based on King Tut. And now this is our first project that we have heard over here, in which he's going to be working with Cartoon Network Studios in order to create this Battu series, this animated musical that will be themed to dance, to empowerment, to Chicago, and, you know, to really bring this project to life. Now, by the way, considering that they have just announced this project with Matthew A. Cherry and Cartoon Network Studios, this is not not a sign that Matthew A. Cherry quit Cartoon Network in order to be, no, he didn't quit Sony Animation to be at Cartoon Network. That's not what it means. There is no confirmation of that at all. This only means that he has this extra project going on at Cartoon Network, especially with the fact that last year, it was announced that Matthew A. Cherry and Warner Brothers did actually sign this multi-year deal in order for him to go and work on several different projects, whether they be TV shows, animation, movies, or whatever. So that is actually part of that deal. And yeah, I definitely am curious to see what this is all about, especially with animation. I can imagine that they could actually do a whole lot of amazing things, especially when this is themed to dance. And I don't know if many people actually heard the term hip-lay by mixing hip-hop and ballet, but I'm sure this is going to be a visual spectacle, especially when this is coming from Cartoon Network Studios. And visually, they have been proving themselves to do very well, especially with what we have seen from them recently with stuff like Adventure Time or with Steven Universe and those different types of shows. So far, their animation has been admired, especially from the animation community. So I can imagine with this, Cartoon Network Studios would be capable of doing something really good, especially when it is all themed to dance. And you better bring, I'm sure those animators better prepare to get their dancing shoes on, because yeah, they probably need to learn some moves themselves if they want that to translate well onto their TV show, onto the characters that they would be animating as well. So just a little bit of a heads up on that. So already I do see the potential, and it does actually stay true to the themes of the modern Cartoon Network shows, especially when it does have the theme of self-empowerment and inclusiveness. That seems to be something that Cartoon Network has been doing more and more nowadays, especially after shows like Adventure Time and Steven Universe. I'm glad that they still are continuing that theme of having that kind of empowerment and having more inclusiveness and celebrating diversity, and telling a new generation of kids of how inclusivity is important, especially in our modern culture. So it is nice that this show is also continuing that trend, and not just like, I know I keep mentioning Adventure Time and Steven Universe, but plenty of other shows that still do that to this day, like we had that with OKKO, or also with Craig of the Creek as well, especially when we do have this we also got another animated series as well that has a prominently black cast, and that seems to be a thing that we are starting to see more and more, and that's a good thing, actually. It's great to see that we are having more animated shows that are presenting diversity as well. But one thing I will say, though, that I am very curious about, and it does have me a little bit concerned, is regarding the other projects that Matthew A. Cherry is working on. Now, I know I just said that technically Matthew A. Cherry didn't necessarily quit Sony Animation just to go work at Cartoon Network and stuff like that, but it does have me curious as to know what is happening with Matthew A. Cherry's projects with King Tut and with the Hair Love series. I feel like it's honestly been a very long time since we had any form of updates with what's going on with those shows. I mean, I'm not saying that they have been canceled, but I am saying that it's been quite a long time since we have heard anything, or if we have heard any form of confirmation that they are still happening, and we haven't even had any form of a release date of when those when those projects have come out. In fact, if you do think about it, it's also been a while since we have heard any announcements or any updates regarding some of Sony Animation's other projects as well. Yeah, maybe we did get one little update on Spider-Verse, but other than that, when it comes to many of the other movies that they have announced with what's going to be to come, or like even the TV shows especially, we haven't heard anything since, or if they are still serious into going on to that. Like, I remember like a while ago, they announced that they wanted to do a a Boondock series, that they want to revive the Boondock series and have that come back on HBO Max. And they stated that there was it was supposed to come out like in the fall of 2020, but we haven't heard anything since. And I looked it up a little bit, but apparently it was earlier this year that they have announced that the show was going to happen sometime in 2022. So from there, it has me wondering, like, what is even going on in Sony, like, what's happening in Sony Animation, because they've been suspiciously quiet, especially when Sony Pictures has even been, has also been announcing a whole bunch of new animated projects that don't have the Sony Animation name. Like, like, I forgot the name of it. I think it's like Faust or something like that. Like this adult animated series that's going to be from Sony Pictures Television, but no affiliation from Sony Animation. Or they even announced this live action animation hybrid that's going to be coming out, I think, next year. But again, no announcements or nothing that stated that that Sony Animation would be doing something about that, would actually be involved. So it has me suspicious. It has me curious about how oddly quiet things are going on with Sony Animation. I don't know, like maybe they're just focusing more on just advertising Hotel Transylvania, Transformania, but maybe it's just me, because especially with the projects of Matthew A. Cherry, I would be more, you know, I would love to know more with what's going on with those projects, like any updates, like if things are going well with production, that the thing, things are going smoothly with stuff like the Tut movie or with the Hair Love series, but we don't know. But for now, what we do know is that Matthew A. Cherry is also going to be working at Cartoon Network with this new Battu series. And so far, it looks like it has a lot of promise. I could see this being a hit on Cartoon Network. And even though we don't have an official release date on that yet, so far, we'll say this looks like a show that people should keep an eye out when it comes out on Cartoon Network. We don't know when, again, but we shall see. All right, so with that said, it is now time I go into the chat wall and I ask you all, what do you think of Battu? Do you think that this could be a great new series from Cartoon Network? Does it look like it might suck and it might be a dud? Let me know what you all think on this one. Also, I want to mention that the one weird thing that I'm a little iffy on with this series is the title, Battu. Maybe I'm not saying it right, but is it just me, or isn't Battu the name of like a planet in Star Wars? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But anyways, let's see what the chat wall has to say. I was intrigued by this at first when I read the synopsis, but you guys know that TikTok, with a guy slamming a credit card repeatedly on the table, being all, "Take my money, take it all!" That was my reaction to Matthew A. Cherry's involvement, so in short, I'm down. Also, I don't typically do this, but I have some breaking news. According to Variety, after Jungle Cruise's release, Disney Plus is dropping their premium access feature due to the Black Widow deal really pissing off theaters. Really? That is intriguing. So, all right, wow, thank you for the update. That is, that is interesting. And yeah, I have heard a lot of times that, like, of course, we know that movie theaters were always pissed off with the whole Disney Plus thing. Like, ever since the Raya and the Last Dragon deal, they have always been triggered and they have always been so upset. Like, honestly, I kind of rolled my eyes when I saw the headline. I think it came out either yesterday or today, that they were mentioning how, like, Black Widow wouldn't have such a decline on its second weekend if it didn't release it on Disney Plus. I was like, oh God, shut up, guys. I know what you're trying to do. But yeah, honestly, it is kind of a surprise. So yeah, I guess it's pretty much official now that when it comes to their upcoming lineup, like, it's for sure that we are going to see Encanto on the big screen, and only on the big screen, which honestly, I don't mind. With the trailer that we had before, it looks absolutely gorgeous. And I mean, it really fits well for the big screen. So honestly, yeah, definitely. So honestly, really surprising news there. Anyways, back onto Battu. Let's see here. I'm actually looking forward to this series. I did really enjoy Hair Love and what it actually represents. I could see that Matthew A. Cherry is becoming a prominent and recognizable, not only director, but creator as well. Battu's animation looks a little bit like Craig of the Creek, which I'm not really a fan of, but this does give me high hopes. However, I'm also a bit worried that this might end up like Summer Camp Island, where it didn't do well on Cartoon Network and went to HBO Max. How it's going to perform, I don't know, but we shall see. Let's see now. I'm really curious to watch this, especially given the creator. Where do I sign? The designs look accurate so far, and it does have an interesting concept. I am also curious to know when this is coming out, but this has made a good impression on me so far. By the way, are we not going to talk about the dad who looks like Steve Harvey? Well, I don't think he's the dad. I think he's just going to be the instructor. But no, I wouldn't say this is Steve Harvey, because the thing is with Steve Harvey, the best way that I could put it is that he has resting "are you kidding me" face. Like when he has that neutral face, he always looks like, he always looks like he's just staring at you as if you're some kind of idiot, like he always has that face just going around like, you know what I mean? Like he just has that face. Like you can watch like a Steve Harvey clip, and like he always has that neutral face, like with his lip hanging down, just like couldn't believe what he has just seen, and how still like, just a bit in awe of the stupidity that he is facing, and the kind of like, the kind of sorrow that he has to deal with that stupidity. Maybe it's from all the dumb answers on Family Feud. Yes. Oh my god. Also, I just want to recommend, if you guys haven't seen it, but like if you go on YouTube, I highly recommend you go and watch the moment where Steve Harvey snapped on Family Feud when he has to face a family who has to answer the question of another name for mother, and they just keep repeating Nana as a solid answer when Nana was actually already on board. Oh man, it was just amazing. Let's see what else we have here. Let's see what else. Do we have any other comments? Not only does the theme of this series remind me slightly of Billy Elliot, but the notion of hip play is not uncommon in my circle. For a few years now, ballet has been mixed with hip hop dances with classical ballets like Stravinsky and Tchaikovsky. Honestly, for me, I am not familiar with hip play. Like, I'm sure some of you watching this or listening to this, you're probably a lot more familiar than me. But yeah, like the hip play, honestly, I feel like is it kind of feels like a new concept. But then again, I guess that kind of emphasizes how white I am. All right, let's see what else we got here. This show seems like the spiritual successor to Class of 3000, but about dancing instead of just songs. I wish Matthew A. Cherry the best of luck with this series and his other project like Hair Love. Plus, on a random side note, I just learned the word Battu means beaten in French, according to Google Translate. Well, yeah, it's the, okay. Like, if you're talking about Battu, that's actually it's the French past term for beaten. Like, if you want to say that that person just got beat up, then you would say, la personne là-bas est battue. Or something like that. All right, I'll read one more comment before we get into the grand finale. Let's see now. This is another Matthew A. Cherry project that I'm really excited to and looking forward to. Hair Love is considered one of my favorites from Sony Animation along with Spider-Verse and The Mitchells, since Cherry does a great job with it. Seeing Cherry working on a series over at Cartoon Network looks interesting with its concept, and I hope it works out well if it does well on Cartoon Network, so good luck with him making a show a reality. Yeah, I definitely wish, so yeah, me too. I definitely wish both Matthew Cherry and Chaz Bottoms the best of luck on this project. All right, so now it is time that we shall get into the grand finale. And with this grand finale, we're actually going to be talking about a video game. Yes, a video game, probably the most talked about video game in these past few days, because it has a pretty fascinating concept, and it's not really the game itself that people are really interested in, but rather the characters that are going to be involved, considering that they have many recognizable cartoon characters ready and are about to go and beat each other up. Speaking of Battu. So with that said, let us go ahead and take a look at the trailer for Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. And it's starting now. Don't worry. And that is Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, which is going to be coming soon this fall in numerous of different platforms for the PS4, the PS5, the Xbox One, the Xbox Series, and for the Nintendo Switch. And the best way to go and describe this series, or not the series, but the best way to describe this game is that it is basically Super Smash Bros. Except with Nickelodeon characters. That's basically the whole concept of it all. And so far, what they have shown us, not only will you be in several different areas from numerous of different Nickelodeon shows, but on top of that, you get to play with many different Nickelodeon characters, whether they be from shows that are recently new and they are fresh and they are still popular today, or from old past nostalgic favorites. Some of the characters that they have presented so far in the trailer, as you have probably seen, include SpongeBob, Sandy, Patrick, as well as you also got Nigel Thornberry from the Wild Thornberries, you got Zim, you got Helga from Hey Arnold, you got Reptar, you got Lincoln Loud, you got Lucy Loud, you got Danny Phantom, you got so many of these different characters, and now they are going to be fighting together in this Super Smash Bros. Style game. And what got many people very much excited is how it actually does replicate the style and the look of Super Smash Bros. Not necessarily in terms of the design or anything like that, but rather just the mishmash of all these different characters, and more specifically regarding their moveset, where if you do pay careful attention to the fights, oh, and also I did forget, like a few other ones that just popped in my mind. We also got Oblina from Real Monsters, and of course we also got Leonardo and Michelangelo from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but specifically, by the way, from the original 1980s show, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, not any of the recent series like Rise or the computer animated one. But anyways, going back to what I was talking about, if you look specifically at the attack moves from these different characters, like let's take a look at Patrick, for example. you'll notice that a lot of them are actually references to what they would do in the show. And that's where the comparison of Smash Bros. Actually comes in, is the attention to detail, where every fight move that they would make is actually based on something that they have done before in the series or in the movie or anything like that. Like the attack of Patrick just going down while his pants are just replaced with an ice cream cone is actually a reference. I remember it was an old episode where SpongeBob and Patrick were competing in the Fry Cook games, and Patrick decided to go and like do a dive in the fryer where he decided to be this chocolate dipped strawberry ice cream cone. So that's the big reference with what they would do, and that's just one example of many of the things that they want to do in this this game in particular. And that is why right now we are seeing an unnatural amount of hype for this. Like, there are a lot of people who are even saying that this could actually be the next Super Smash Bros., or that they would even go and improve upon some of the flaws of what we have right now with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Like, a lot of people are even making memes and joking around about how like this might actually have better online capabilities than Smash Bros. Ultimate, or they're already making memes about like the hitboxes and stuff like that. You know, like some of like the little details and some of the technicalities of Smash Bros. Will also be adapted onto this. But with all that said and done, does this actually get me excited for this game? Am I also as hyped up as many other people on the internet about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl? Honestly, I gotta say, no, not really. Honestly, I'm not really that hyped up. In fact, I'm a little more skeptical than anything. I'm actually kind of shocked that this game even has this much hype as we are seeing right now. And the reason why I do say this is because generally these kinds of games don't normally have a good track record. Like, people would be hyped up for this kind of game that would be this big mashup of popular cartoon characters, and generally they don't necessarily work out well, especially when it comes to Nickelodeon games. I mean, yeah, sure, there are some that do actually end up becoming cult classics or cult favorites, specifically. Like, a great example would be Battle for Bikini Bottom. That's actually a very popular one that people love, down to the point where not too long ago, it actually just got a remake. And with this one right over here, like with this entire Nickelodeon mashup kind of thing, you know, it's not necessarily the first time that we've seen Nickelodeon do that with video games. And from there, like when they would do them, they don't normally turn out to be great per se. I'm sure like it has its fan base and people do enjoy them, but they don't turn out to be like a full-on hyped up masterpiece that everybody needs in their collection. Like, a really good example is that I remember when Nickelodeon actually made a racing game. Like, they did it for consoles, and they actually made it for the arcade as well. But I don't see people nowadays comparing that as, like, the next Mario Kart or the next Crash Team Racing. And that's honestly something that I feel very doubtful with this one as well. Honestly, I doubt that this would end up becoming the next Super Smash Bros. Or anything like that. Especially with the fact that there have been many others who try to replicate that Super Smash Bros. Formula, and it didn't really work out well. In fact, this is not the first time that we see TV cartoons clashing together in this Smash Bros. Style game. You probably remember more than a decade ago, there was this game called Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion. This was Cartoon Network's answer to Super Smash Bros. And keep in mind, this was actually just before shows like Adventure Time and Steven Universe. Like, the most recent shows they had back then were Flapjack, Chowder, and maybe Ben 10. But it was still the same kind of show that had that similar concept where they had so many cartoons from their entire legacy just involved in this major Super Smash Bros. Style fighting game. Like, you got the Powerpuff Girls. Like I said, you got Ben 10, you got Flapjack, you got Mac and Blue, you got Chowder, you got Johnny Bravo, you got Samurai Jack, you got all these guys just fighting each other. And they even have several more that would act like their own version of assist trophies, like Cow and Chicken or Ed, Ed and Eddie and stuff like that. I could be wrong on some of them, but yeah, the big thing to emphasize is that even Cartoon Network actually did that at one point. But the thing is, the game didn't really turn out to be that good. Like, at best, a lot of people were saying that it was a pretty mediocre game that didn't necessarily offer that much. So, quickly, when it was released, it was immediately rejected from the public. And I wouldn't be surprised if this would actually be the same fate as what we are seeing right now with Nickelodeon All-Stars. Like, I know it is fun to go and predict what more characters could be in there, because we have yet to see, like, all the different Nickelodeon shows who would actually be a perfect fit for this. Like I'll say right now, we have yet to see characters from the Fairly Odd Parents in the roster. We have yet to see Jimmy Neutron characters in there. We have yet to see any of like the Avatar or Korra characters that would be involved. And you know that either Aang or Korra is going to be a part of that roster no matter what, especially with their Avatar skills, with all their different element bending. So yeah, I could see where like a lot of people are hyped up and they love the idea. And even myself, I'll admit, like this idea is just pure genius and I would love to see it. But would it actually turn out to be good? Honestly, I highly doubt it. Like, again, I find it kind of a little bit strange that we are seeing all this crazy hype for it. But overall, I'm just a little bit, I don't know. I feel more cautious than anything. Like, the most positive that I could be is just cautious. I don't know if it's going to turn out to be something in which the controls can actually match the levels of Super Smash Bros. I mean, yeah, there are a few little flaws here and there, but you got to keep in mind, the Super Smash Bros. Games, those are masterpieces. Those are some of the most beloved fighting games in video game history. And especially right now with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, like, it is the must-have Switch game and one of the games of that system right now. So seeing this, trying to match that level, honestly, it's going to be hard to truly imagine, but I could be wrong, of course. And if the reviews actually do turn out to be good, and if they say that it is actually an enjoyable game, then yeah, I'll definitely consider to go and actually have it myself and try it out. But for now, I'm just keeping myself a little bit cautious because these types of Nickelodeon games, they don't often have the best track record, and maybe this could turn out to be fine, but I honestly highly doubt it. So ultimately for me, it is a bit of a wait and see kind of thing. But if you are more optimistic than I am on this, then keep in mind that the game is going to be released this fall. And we don't have a specific release date yet, but I'm sure with the hype that's already been building up, I'm sure many people will be keeping an eye on it. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you think of Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl? Are you guys hyped up for this? Do you think this could actually reach the levels of Super Smash Bros? Or do you guys feel pretty doubtful like me? Let me know what you think on this. Okay, let's see. Usually I do not buy or play games that try to be Mario Kart or Smash Bros, but this game, I would have to take this a strong consideration. There could be some good things about the game, but there could also be bad things about the game. I will just think about it when whether I should buy it or not. The only thing I could say in this game is that I hope they will include Jimmy Neutron as a playable character. Yeah, like, for me, honestly, I feel like I should be a little bit cautious. Like, I'm just, like, on hold right now, and, like, I'm just gonna be, ultimately, I'm waiting for the reviews. Like, I'm just gonna wait until, I'm just gonna wait to see what the reviews say, and if they say it's good, then I'll take their word for it, and I'll try it out myself. Let's see. I'm not expecting this to be a masterpiece, but it could potentially be a fun game, and one of the better Smash Bros. Clones out there. I am honestly incredibly happy that Nickelodeon is still getting use out of their old Nickelodeon properties, and still will give them attention. However, if Hugh Neutron is not a playable character in this game, we riot. Okay, I'm going to be very honest. I feel like the chances of Hugh Neutron actually being a playable character, I feel like it's very likely, actually. I mean, you gotta keep in mind, like, I know a lot of people would say Hugh is one of the more memeable Nickelodeon characters, but then again, look who they have as a legit playable character. They got freaking Nigel Thornberry. Like, why the fridge is Nigel Thornberry a playable character in a Smash Bros. Style Nickelodeon game? Like, what I'm saying is, if Nigel can be a playable character, then I feel like Hugh could definitely be one as well. Let's see now. As someone who's in the midst of planning out a movie with my friend using this type of concept, just replacing Nicktoons fighting with them playing basketball for some reason, this does look like a fun game. I'm a sucker for the Smash games at Nickelodeon, so this will probably be worth the pre-order. But one question remains: what about other Nick characters? What are we gonna? Are we gonna get Five and Miko, Timmy Turner, Hugh Neutron? $1 million ideas right there. Yeah, I mean, like, keep in mind, this was just announced. Like this game just came out of nowhere, and the trailer was released at the same time as they revealed, hey, we're going to be doing this, so I'm sure, like, in the near future, we're going to hear a lot more characters that will be available in this. Let's see, what else do we got here? This has my curiosity, but they'll still have to convince me to buy it. Smash Bros. Clones can be hit and miss. For example, you either live Rivals or Aether, or die a PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Even the Ninja Turtles had TMNT smash up over a decade ago. This is a case where I might see what other reviewers say. Yeah, that is true, and that's another great example of how Smash Bros. Clones can pretty much fail immediately. Like PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, you'd think a Smash Bros. Style PlayStation game could work out, but with the way they were handling it, nah, it wasn't that good. Let's see, what else do we have here? I'm actually going to have to agree with you, Animat. While I love Slap City, the creators of that game is apparently working on this one, it's kind of funny that a Nickelodeon game is going to have a rollback and the memes and the humor at best. At the end of the day, this is a Game Mill Entertainment published game, and they are notorious for having a low budget. They published a terrible Pikmin ripoff with the Hotel Transylvania brand, so I'm also cautious as you, Animat. Yeah, that's also the thing that you gotta keep in mind. This isn't from, like, a very well-known studio, actually. This is from, like, Game Mill Entertainment and Fair Play Labs and Ludosity. Or is Ludosity a company? Or I don't know, but the point is that this isn't, like, from a renowned studio that is known for making top quality fighting games like Bamco Namdai, for example. So that's also another warning that you have to keep in mind when playing this. Let's see. I think I'm gonna read one more comment before we go. So let's see. Yeah, okay, here we go. I'm quite intrigued about this upcoming game. Although I'm not a huge Nickelodeon fan, I could see why the developers had put in a lot of care and effort into this game. I might get Nick All-Star Brawl when it comes out this fall. Also, have you heard the fans wanted Jimmy Neutron characters, including Hugh Neutron, to be in the game? Oh yeah, I've definitely heard people demanding that. Have you seen the freaking chat wall? About half of it, they're demanding for freaking Hugh Neutron. All right, but I think with that said, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. So with all that said, I want to thank you all so much for joining me on this. It was definitely a lot of fun, and tune in next week for another fun-filled episode filled with maybe trailers and a whole bunch of animation news coming your way. So with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, see you later, dudes.